Welcome back. Today we're going to try to put the cylinder head on. Before I do that, I'm going to install the lifters. And they go down in here. Not like I ever forgot to put the lifters in before putting the cylinder head on. But today we'll put the lifters in first. Here are the lifters. When I disassembled the engine, I put the push rods in this box. Right? And then I put the corresponding lifter on top of the push rod. And as you can see, they're all numbered. So we'll start with number 1. Okay, I've got the spectacles on. I've got a little dish of oil. And I've got my lube. Take lifter number 1 and I'm going to lube it up. Dunk it in the oil. And then put it in number 1. There we go. Number 2, lube it up. You kind of get the idea where we're going with this, right? Okay. Put it in number 2. And repeat 10 more times. With the lifters in, time to put in the cylinder head bolts. I have brand new ones, because if you're going to pull the cylinder head off, put new ones in. Put new studs in. Here we go, brand new stud. That's going to go like that. And to tighten these down, usually you would double nut it, but these have little Allen cut in the top, so you can tighten them down with an Allen wrench. How cool is that? Now, before we do that, we have new washers and new bolts, and they give you fastener assembly lubricant. So we're going to use that on all the threads when we put them in. Okay, so we'll open this maybe. My hands are really oily now. And we'll put some lubricant. It's supposed to come out. There it is. We'll put that on the threads. Like that. And we'll put that in the block. Put our Allen wrench in and tighten it down snug. When I took the cylinder head off, interesting story. When I took the cylinder head off, I didn't wake up one day and say, gee, I think I'm going to rebuild the engine on the TR6. No, the cylinder head was leaking oil right here. So I thought, okay, I need a new gasket. You take the cylinder head off and put on a new gasket. Couldn't get the cylinder head off. Took 3 days because these bolts were rusted into the cylinder head. I put the crane on the cylinder head, tried to lift it off. I'm lifting the whole car, wouldn't come off. Finally, after spraying penetrating oil on all the studs that were stuck, I was able to work them out with the double nut on here, except for one, which wouldn't come out. So what I ended up doing is turning the whole cylinder head to unscrew that stud. Got the head off, pounded out the bolt, had it remachined. Now we're going to put it back on. So once again, we'll get our new stud. We'll put our lubricant on in the threads there. Number 2 goes in. And we will snug it down. Perfect. Repeat that, I don't know, 10 more times, 14 more times. Okay. Okay, before we can put the cylinder head on, we have to put these freeze plugs in. They go right here in the cylinder head. We got a big one and a little teeny tiny one. So what I'm going to do is use this socket because it fits right in there pretty good. And I'll use that to pound it in. So that's for the little one. For the larger one, I'm going to use the larger socket because that fits in there pretty good. And I'll use that to pound it in. Before I got to this point, I cleaned the inside, the seat here on the cylinder head really good with 220 sandpaper, and I made sure that I got the bottom or the seat where this stops very clean. Okay, let's try the little one first. First, I need a hammer. This one ought to work. Okay, we have our Permatex here. This is Permatex number 1. First, I'm going to put it in the cylinder head. Okay. And again, don't skimp. If you have too much in there, it'll squirt out and you wipe it off. Okay. Number 2. There we go. Put that in there like that. Okay, then let's do this because we have some left on our finger. Okay, we'll go around the outside of this. There we go. Now, I'm going to put that in like that. I'm going to get my socket and put that there. And pound it in. And you will know when you get to the bottom because it makes a different sound. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Look at how much Permatex is missing. That slid in there really tight. And hopefully the other one will do the same. Let me just move this a little closer because it slid back, of course, when I was whacking it. Here we go. Get our Permatex out. Put it on here. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Wipe the extra off my finger. Take this and put it right there. Now we'll get our big socket. I don't know, you can't see that very well. Let's try it this way. How's that? And put that in there like that. And see if I can hold this so you can see. I'm gonna have to hold it this way because I have to keep the head from moving. Well, it's almost in there. Let me slide this back up and continue with my whacking. that sounded down all the way. So we're going to call that in. There you go. Okay, the freeze plugs are in, and now we're going to have to put that up here. Here's another thing we're going to do before we get started here is we're going to wipe down the surface of the cylinder head and make sure it's clean. Okay, I'm using lacquer thinner, and I'm also looking for little scratches or nicks that I may have caused along the way. There's a little paint right there, paint. Okay, and so far it looks good. We don't want that there. Just to get a clean surface so we have a nice, nice seal. Because it was leaking when I took it off, which is why I took it off. Okay. There you go. I think that looks pretty clean. Now it looks even cleaner. Very good. One other interesting note, this is the #1 cylinder. The head was cracked between the valves, and I found a guy who welds cast iron. He did a beautiful job, and his name is Mike. Thank you, Mike. He welded that all up like brand new. The machinist, whose name is also Mike, remachined it. He put in stainless steel seats on the exhaust valves and brand new stainless steel valves in all the cylinders. So hopefully this is going to run really nice. Let's see how this is going to work. I cleaned this. I didn't videotape because, I mean, you know, it's really exciting watching me go like this with a piece of paper towel and cleaner. But anyway, this is all clean. I'm ready to put the cylinder head on. Now, I've experienced a little problem here, is that my spaghetti-like senior citizen arms are not capable of lifting up that cylinder head this high and putting it on gently and evenly. You know, so what I need to do, I mean, I know I'm trying to do this whole thing by myself, but I figured out I need somebody with really big arms that can lift up that heavy cylinder head and gently put it on here. Well, my ex-wife and I aren't speaking to each other, so I think I'm going to have to use the engine hoist. I've got the copper coat, I've got the gasket hanging from this convenient coat hanger, and let's paint it. Yes, both sides. This is exciting, I bet. You don't see this every day. Nice. Okay, we're gonna let that get a little less tacky, and then we're gonna put it on. Let me get a little bit more over here. Perfect. A little bit more over here. Perfect. I put the gasket on, and I don't know how this is going to work because I can't move the engine hoist far enough above the engine because the table is in the way to drop the cylinder head straight down. So we're just going to try this and see what happens. Okay, here we go. Whoosh. I'm going to line up one and see what happens. Easy. There's 2, 3. Like I did this before. Unbelievable. Well, I think it's where it's supposed to be. Let's put the nuts on and start torquing. Everything is going good. I mean, that head slit right on there perfectly. I'm taking the nut off that's holding the chain. I go to lift up the chain. Guess what happened to the washer? It's down there someplace. I don't want to have to take the cylinder head off again and go looking for the washer. This requires spectacles. Hopefully I can see it. If I can get to, oh. It's almost down inside the lifter. Fortunately, it's a zinc washer, which means it's magnetic. Let's see if I can retrieve it. Of course, everything is sticking to the cast iron cylinder head. Uh-oh. The washer is wider. Washer. Lucky me. What we're going to do now is put on the nuts and the washers. Washer, nut. The nuts that came with this kit are 1/2 inch and they're 12 point. They fit in the socket really nice. Before I put the nuts and the washers on, we're going to lubricate with our fastener assembly lubricant the threads on all the studs, and this is going to take a while. So this would be a good time to go get a snack. But it's 2. Let's see. I told you the story about when I took this off, how the bolts, the studs were rusted into the head. That's a sure sign that it's time to do a cylinder head job. I've got another TR6 in the other garage that is needing some head work. Took a compression test. It was pretty even, like around 140, I think. I don't remember, because half the time I don't remember why I walked in the kitchen. But we'll say it was 140 on all the cylinders, except number 6 was only 40 pounds. So number 6 was along for the ride, and I'm curious to see when I get that taken apart if the head is cracked like this one was. But that's okay, because I know a guy. His name is Mike. You know, I don't know if there's a way for anybody to give me feedback on here, but if you want me to videotape that other cylinder head job, you know, what the heck? I got nothing to do all day. Okay. We have the lubricant on there. Now we're going to put on all the washers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where did I leave off? 11, 12, 13, 14. And you know what? I didn't drop them inside the engine. Yay, good for me. Okay, let's try the nuts now. 1, 2. Okay, there we go. Now, they're all on there finger tight. And now, if I had my socket, here we go. I'm just going to start snugging them up. Just a little bit. You know, there's a certain order that these are supposedly tightened in. I don't know if I'm doing it in the right order, but before I get out the torque wrench, I will get the book and make sure that they're tightened in the proper sequence. Now they're just a little snug. I want a little pressure on that gasket and the copper coat. Boy, I wish that was that, because after we finish this, push rods, rocker arm assembly. Then I'm going to put the starter on and then figure out how to videotape putting this in the car. Did I say videotape? I meant video, because we don't use tape anymore. It just goes to show you how old I really am. What I did here is I put pieces of tape on the cylinder head and numbered the order in which the bolts are to be tightened. You notice it's a crossing pattern. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that way I can torque them evenly in the same order at different torques. I have these torqued to about 60 pounds right now. They're supposed to be 65 to 70. So now I have this set at 66. If I get down that far, I'm going to call it good and give it another torquing after the engine runs and heats up. So let me put a foot on the table here. See if I can get 66 pounds of torque on number 1. There's 1. There's 2. I got company. There's 3. Hold on a second, okay? There's 4. 5. 6, 7, 8. The whole table's moving on me. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. I'm going to call that cylinder head properly torqued.